So to answer the first question, I don't think that it would be possible to live off of $2 a day, especially in New Jersey. New Jersey is probably one of the most expensive states to live in. Um, our mortgage payment is a lot, including the property tax. My house, our property tax is almost $9,000 a year. And so you have to do a monthly mortgage on top of making sure you have food in the house and making sure you have electricity, and you need a job, so you need to have gas in order to go to work. And all that costs a lot of money, and groceries are a lot of money. I feel like as I get older, I realize more and more how much I spend on food, which has actually made me more cautious. And I've actually started to eat home a lot more and not eat out as much. And I've kind of noticed that I've been saving a lot of money. There was a time where I was hardly working. There was some issues with the job that I had, and I lost a lot of hours, and I was surviving off of an almost nothing paycheck. And if my now husband wasn't working a lot of overtime to help support what I couldn't bring home, I don't know how we would have done it. I don't know how we would have gotten food on our table. There was a while where I was literally eating ramen almost every day so that we could pay our bills. And I think when you go through that type of struggle, it opens your eyes to realize what other people are going through in the world, because there's a lot of other people who don't have the option of overtime, or they can't necessarily just go out and get a job because they have a family that they have to take care of at home and they can't afford childcare, or they just can't get a job. And it's kind of sad, and I think that it opens your eyes to realize how much poverty there actually is in the world. I feel like reading the articles and reading the chapters and having the discussion this week really just kind of opened my eyes to see and explore like what's going on in my own community. I actually did this at Field on Thursday. We always ask people about if they have home health care and if they want to explore home health care options. And a lot of times the answer is no, and I never really ask why. I never try to pry into what their business is, because yes, I'm trying to be a social worker, but I kind of feel like it's not really my place to be like, oh, well, why don't you want to try to find a live-in aid or something like that? And it hit me that maybe a lot of the reasons why people are saying no to home health care is because the insurance doesn't cover it, which means that people are having to pay out of pocket for prescriptions, visiting nurses, visiting aides, fixing their houses, because oftentimes in where I'm doing my placement, you have to get rails put in your house sometimes to help avoid falls, and get wheelchairs and get canes and all this stuff. And then to think about paying for a visiting nurse or visiting aide, it's really upsetting. And I think I just thought about how much poverty actually affects people of all ages. I feel like poverty doesn't discriminate whether you're African American, Asian, Caucasian, male, female, young, old. I feel like it doesn't discriminate. It kind of affects everyone. I feel like everybody kind of has their own money struggle, and it's kind of sad that a lot of people in this country are living in poverty and just can't afford basic needs, and it's really, really upsetting. And even at Field this week, we had a few people who were afraid to go home because they weren't sure how they were going to be able to afford rent on top of the hospital bills and on top of the rehab bills that their insurance isn't going to cover. And it's so upsetting to me. And these people are literally living in poverty, but trying to get better. And it's so upsetting to me. And at that point, we have to look at getting the financial resources. And even that's hard. Sometimes there's not even money in that. And I used to work for a social services agency, and we had a number of people call us asking for rent assistance, electricity assistance, food assistance to feed their children. And oftentimes there just wasn't money out there. And it turned into call Catholic Charities, call Homefront, call this person, call that person. And we never actually find out if these people actually got the assistance that they needed. And I kind of feel like that's what's so toxic about poverty. And also, I feel like a lot of inequality was affected by that too. A lot of people are getting turned down from assistance just solely based on the fact that they're a certain race or a certain sexuality or something. And it's very upsetting. We're supposed to help people, and I feel like we're turning the help away and like turning people away from the health. And I don't know. I've never been affected personally by any inequalities except maybe wage. But it's very upsetting, and I feel like inequalities is affecting our entire world. There's so many issues when it comes to social media. People are saying certain things about people's color or financial situation. And there's just so much equality in the world, and I feel like there's so much we can do to fix it. But I feel like people are struggling where to start fixing it, and people are just kind of stepping all over one another. But inequalities have affected my clients at Field because they're not able to get the healthcare they need because they don't make a certain amount of money. And there's also people at my actual job. I work at an inpatient psychiatric facility, and they're getting turned down for full treatment because the insurance can't pay for it. And then they can't pay out of pocket for their treatment. And it's just overall just so upsetting. And I wish there was something better that we could do to help affect some of these inequalities that kind of seem like they would be so easy to fix. But yeah, it's really upsetting when you take the time to actually look at what's going on around in the world around you and see that maybe problems that you thought you had really aren't as bad as somebody else's. Like the living paycheck to paycheck. I would rather live paycheck to paycheck and know that there is going to be food on my table than have the unknown of I don't know where my food is coming from. And I think that we as a society need to be more open about that and more accepting of what is going on around us and what struggles other people have, and not take things for granted as much as we actually do.